Welcome back to On the Nose, a podcast where we look back at all the goings on in terms of the trading floor and the previous weekend's domestic thoroughbred meetings. And we're looking back on Saturday, the 24th of May. And I'm joined once again in studio by my good friend Thad Taylor, who, look, if anyone knows what's going on the trading floor, which is where you would find him most times years and years ago, it's Thad.
Yeah, good morning, Paul, or good afternoon, or wherever it is and wherever you're watching. Welcome to On the Nose. Yeah, we just run through how the TAB went in each race and hopefully find some market movers that, if they didn't win for you on the weekend, may win for you in the future.
Okay, so two meetings last Saturday, Tarapa and New Plymouth. We'll go to Tarapa first, and hello, it's winter time.
That time of the year.
Because we're heading into the jump season, and race one was a maiden hurdle over 2,800 metres, and catch and release at around $4.50 gets home. So how did we start?
Kevin Myers was the first thing, but yeah, look, they really did like St. Bernard in the race. It was $1.90. Did get out to 2.10 late. Sir Maverick for John Wheeler was also 11 into 5.50, and they almost got there with Sir Maverick, who was the TAB hot horse or the hot runner in the race, because it was halved in price. And catch and release for that reason was 3 out to 4.40, but because it's Kevin Myers and it's a maiden hurdle, it was only plus $10,000 even with all that money for St. Bernard and Sir Maverick.
Race two was an open hurdle over the same distance, 2,800 metres, and this time Dean Parker and Taika get home.
Wow. Good horse, Taika, good run at Rotorua leading up to this, and was just friendless because all the money was for one runner in 48, $2.10. We thought we'd open short enough. Started at $1.50, did 48, and all the money was on it. It was one of the better back runners of the day, particularly for jumping. It was certainly the best back jumper on the day. And Taika was $3.60. We had a lot of respect for the Nelson McDougall runner. Got out to $7.50 and was plus 40,000. So, and everything else drifted in that market because of all the money that came for 48 plus 40 Taika. We wouldn't have thought that leading into Saturday.
Good start for the bookies then on Saturday.
Yeah, it was. You'll see. There were a few zigs and zags and drifting favourites that won that the marketplace didn't like. So, it wasn't a bad day for the TAB, but we can touch on overalls shortly.
Okay, race three, it was for the 2-year-olds over the 1,100 metres, and Kelly Myers gets Geneva home at around $9 or $10.
Always good betting races, the 2-year-old races. They love getting stuck into them. Certainly Lubeck was very well backed. It's the horse with the race day experience. It was obviously won its last start, and Stephen Marsh, the trainer. So there's a few things to like about Lubeck. 270 into 210, it was minus 40,000. The first starter they did like was a Kasuda Rush for the O'Sullivan Scott stable, and they had a few in the race, Paul. So, and all the money came for one runner, generally speaking. So that gave you an idea that the other O'Sullivan Scott runners were going to be behind Kasuda Rush. And that happened to be the case. It finished third, Kasuda Rush. It was 9 into 5. And one of the first starters that wasn't from the O'Sullivan Scott stable was the eventual winner in Geneva. And boy, had a bit of stretch about him. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the race or the replay. He does look a progressive potential 3-year-old campaign. Beckons for Geneva. It was 10 into 8 late. So, the trials had been really good, but they'd really came for one of the first starters as opposed to Geneva. 10 into 8 for Geneva, but it was plus 35,000 because of the money for Lubeck and Kasuda Rush.
Race 4 was an open steeplechase over 3,900 metres. We get our first favourite home for the day with Nedwin and the Nelson McDougall team going back-to-back.
Yeah, not surprising at this time of year. They have their horses fit, and they have them fit early. It doesn't matter when it is. They're going to be fit so that they can really strike early in the season when other horses are trying to get up to the mark. They got us here, Paul, to be fair. We opened Nedwin $4, started $2.50. The old racing adage, which there are many of, a good hurdler makes a better steeplechaser, holds true here by the looks. He was good. He did look he was sort of out on the canvas at about the...
Boy, oh boy, did he fight back.
Didn't he? That last jump proved the key for him. Minus 25,000. He was very well back. Lettram Lad, who didn't run a bad race, and almost looked, was it the one that was challenging on the outside? I can't quite remember. Might have been, but he was the opening favourite, Lettram Lad. He was $3.50 out to $4.60, back to $3.10 late. So he almost challenged for favouritism late because Nedwin got back to $3, so they almost met in the market there. But all the damage was done, particularly early around Nedwin, minus 25,000.
Race 5, it was for the 3-year-olds over the 1,400 metres, and Kelly Myers gets another winner, Archipelago, at around $6 for the Alexanders.
Yeah, another one for Kelly. Great betting race. Excellent betting race. Many horses 2 back, and they did. Renovations was $5 into $3.10. It was around minus 70,000. So, and Cody Cole was obviously relatively keen. Ran a good race, ran second. But there were horses like Peerless, Altari, Tycoon Prince, who were all slightly easy, but still had good, solid support. See, they found Archipelago early, 9 into 5, and because it was in so short, it was back out to 650 late. But because we had it, the move came early, it sort of dried up the money for it quite quickly, which meant it actually was a result of plus 50,000. Archipelago, Ziggy Stardust ran second. It was 15 out to 20, crashed into 11 late, and was sort of held up along the rail, just had to work its way clear, but couldn't catch Archipelago, who was 9 into 650 plus 50,000 because of renovations, and Peerless, Altari, Tycoon Prince, all taking money.
Race 6 was open handicap over the mile, and Uderzo beats the favourite Woods End.
Yeah, great tactics. The tactics won the race. Everyone said, Woods End will lead here. And Rian Goraram said no. And maybe Lance O'Sullivan said, no. And look, it was a small-ish field. Just kicked it out of the barriers, and Woods End gave it the lead. And maybe Woods End, not potentially running at the strongest mile, Michael thought, I will take the opportunity to take a sit, but probably gave it up to the wrong horse, fairness, because once Uderzo sort of trotted around, they were never going to catch it. 4 out to 5, back to 460 late, but it was plus 15,000 because Woods End was 480 into $2.30. That was minus 50,000. Lama Squeeter probably didn't measure up to the grade, but was 12 into 8. If it gets back to its right level, I think a win might be close. That's what the marketplace was saying anyway. But yeah, Uderzo, good win, plus 15.
Race 7 was a benchmark 75 over 1,400 metres, and Michael McNabb and Rareza.
Yes, Rareza. Yeah, interesting one. Well, we opened it relatively short, $6.50. It drifted to $9 with us.
Not liked?
No, not liked by the marketplace, but because it was just one of those horses that was quite well liked by our customer base. And as it kept drifting, they kept putting a little bit more on, and that can happen with Cody Cole runners as well because, he has a fair team of support around him, and in such a wide open betting race, you're sort of looking for something that you might be able to gravitate towards sometimes, and maybe Cody Cole and the last start win as well for Reza resonated with customers. So even though it was $6.50 out to $10 with us, did I say $10? It was minus 20,000. There were 3 shorteners in this race, and I could go through about 10 in this race and touch on them because it was a very good betting race. But Back to Angel, 12 into $8.50, and Lover Roadie, $8.50 into $5.50. They both came out of their ITM stakes there at Rotorua to start prior, so the marketplace gravitated towards them. And Lover Roadie did finish third. And Texas was an interesting runner, I thought. It was back from Australia, ran in some good 3-year-old races, including a Derby, went to Australia for a preparation or even 2 preparations. And I see it's back. It was his first run back in New Zealand. It was 41 into $18. Drew Barrier 2 trailed and never got a crack at them down the straight for Tina.com. So
I get the feeling we might be hearing a little bit more about Texas.
Yeah, you're starting to read me well. But Reza was a losing result, minus 20, even though it was a drifter.
Race 8 was an open handicap over the 1,100 metres, and she's back.
Yeah.
Velocious.
You climbed off, so it was time
exactly.
She won. Look, I mean, the marketplace has nailed 3 runners, and they ran the trifecta. They didn't want to know anything else. Now, look, Shoes was the initial move with the trepidation for Velocious out of the gates, and we knew Shoes was going to lead. It was 5 into 360, back to 4. Pakuru Gold was sort of rock solid once the Scratching of Twain came out. It was around 3 into 280. And then, there was a good push for Velocious late. It got out to $4, back to $3.50. And look, Michael McNabb just did it perfectly, really. As soon as she jumped evenly, even better than evenly, and got the trail, I think Shoes would have had to go on even harder to win. I think they tried to rate Shoes, as you probably have to a degree, but She had it shot to bits at the 200 metres when she got the split up the inside. Velocious, and good ride. Michael McNabb, good see her back. Jumps, barrier blanket obviously worked, and bang. So it was minus 30,000 Velocious.
Final race of the day at Te Rapa, and it's a benchmark 65 over the 1,500 metres. And sense of timing with Hayley Hassman, who's a very good apprentice.
Yeah, she's
coming through. She's going very, very well and rode well enough to beat the favourite, Awatiri.
Yeah, Awatiri was minus 90,000, so they really did pile it in to Awatiri. And another excellent betting races, which you come to expect in these 65, 75 races on a Saturday at Te Rapa. Don't know what happened with sense of timing. Didn't want to know about it. 460, it actually opened our favourite out to $8. Second last time was good enough, I thought. So, yeah, 460 out to $9 plus 70,000. Yeah, which it just still shocks me. So maybe, not trusting the 4kg claimer, or just the form they didn't think was quite good enough. And look, it beat Whiskey and Rye last time, and Whiskey and Rye was in the race, and they moved for Whiskey and Rye to bring them quite close together in the market. So to a degree, you can understand that. Whiskey and Rye was 14 into $9.50 to go back-to-back. Saxon Silks with the O'Sullivans was 17 into $11, as was Te Attitude Dream, was 46 into $23, and led them up and looked the winner almost at the 200-metre mark. There was another O'Sullivan Scott run. I think that gets a heavy track, Te Attitude Dream, and loves Te Rapa too. And the runner to take out of the race for me was Slovakia. 12 into 7 late for King Kelso. Vinny rode it relatively positive out of the gates to try and find a spot sort of around midfield or even forward of midfield. Just got her over racing a little bit. Then she pulled her out into the straight, and Noble Boy came around and knocked her back in, and she never got a look at them down the straight really. And then when she finally got out, stormed home. So Slovakia 12 into 7 late was a run, but sense of timing, marketplace missed it, customers missed it. 460 out to 9 plus 70 to mean that Te Rapa was around plus 145,000. Taika was a big result. Geneva was a big result. Archipelago was a relatively big result. And obviously sense of timing finished the day. It was Velocious, Ra, Reza, and Ned Win that were the losing results. So just more winning results than losing results, to be fair, plus 145 Te Rapa, Paul.
Well, nice start to the jump season for the bookies.
It can be tricky this time of year on the jumps as well.
It can be very, very tricky, but the one thing I took out of that last race was put a circle around Slovakia. Just keep an eye on.
You know me too well.
Right, let's head to the Naki now, and New Plymouth. Race 1 was a maiden 2-year-old race over 1,200 metres, and Craig Grills gets the day started on Poltro Miss.
Yeah, Patterson Grills. What's wrong with that? Start the day.
I'm guessing that's not the last time we'll hear that combination.
No, exactly. And because it's Patterson Grills with the first starter in a 2-year-old race, it was minus 15,000 for Poltro Miss. Circus Maximus, I think, the breeding again.
Indeed.
I'm on these Circus Maximuses. That's another story we can talk about another day. But there were 2 first starters here. Stay in touch with O'Sullivan Scott, and it was easy. O'Sullivan Scott run a first starter in New Plymouth. That's soft. Does not for a good recipe make, in my opinion. So, look, $2.70 out to $4. There were 2 movers, and the market mover was Princess Elsa, and she had this race day experience. It's an age-old thing we talk about here, gravitating towards race day experience. It did again, 6.15 to 4.20, didn't run badly. And Ayumi, it's the first starter for Holly Wynyard, was 20 into 12 and ran a nice race for around, it was either second or third. But Poltro Miss didn't give anything else a chance, minus 15.
Race 2 was maiden for the 2-year-olds and up over 1,600 metres, and Jonathan Riddell gets Zanzibar home at around $5.10 and a very close finish.
Yeah, it was. Look, there were 3 sort of jointish favourites when we opened this market, and Zanzibar, Artevis, and Bubbles Up. One was Alan Sharrock, one was Cody Cole, and they were both steady, but not a lot of money for them. And for a Cody Cole runner and an Alan Sharrock runner, just to be a little bit soft, potentially, sets up for a bit of an upset. Charms to Farm was $7.50 into $4.40. It had its chance. And O was around $21 into $12. But Zanzibar was around $4.40, break even in a race which should have had the money spread everywhere, to be fair.
Race 3, a benchmark 65 over the mile, and Summer Breeze makes me feel fine. Mediana Hudson at around $15. I'm guessing the bookies made a wee bit back here.
That Seals Croft. Yeah. Summer Breeze. Yeah. Anyway, good song. Nice one. 16 out to 20, back into 16. Not a trainer I'm familiar with overly, and not a Tafiti.
He's a good one.
Yeah. No, he's had a couple of winners. So yeah, I'm starting to learn a little bit more about him. It's probably a trainer that the marketplace doesn't know too much about as well, which meant plus 30,000 for Summer Breeze. Malachi, gee, they came again for Malachi. He's one Alan Sharrett runner they did like 9 into 370, minus 60,000, and live on air. It was no chance after I made it the bet of the day. It was 7 into 450, but it had its chance, ran 7th. So
you say Malachi, I say Malarkey.
Oh, yeah. Do you think it? Yeah, no, you're probably right.
No.
It will be Malarkey, is it?
Of
course it is.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it to the commentators.
No, yeah. Well, I don't know what. No, yeah. Now you've got me, Malarkey. That makes way more sense. Sorry. Summer Breeze plus 30 in the wash.
Race 4, open handicap over the 2,000 metres, and Craig Grills is back on board again with Privy Garden.
Yes, and led Craig Grills when Ruhr Rocks was maybe potentially going to lead. Craig Grills just kept going and made the three. I say made. Ali Sol was on Ruhr Rocks and just sort of got to the front and just put Ali in the trail with Ruhr Rocks. This market was all a bit skew. If we had Boomtown Boy, initial favourite, he was $3.80 out to $6. Gentian Blue 6 into 4, Ruhr Rocks 13 into 8. But I think Ruhr Rocks' chances were pretty over. Certainly took a hit when Privy Garden led, and Privy Garden won very well. Tavian was a good run, but Privy Garden well back. Craig Girls 450 into 320 minus 20.
Race 5, benchmark 75 over the 1,200 metres, and Robbie Patterson. Once again, Sinbin at $13.
One of your old favourites. Yeah, I know. And he's a horse that's always well backed, Sinbin as well, but probably what saved us was that Robbie had a few in the race, including Bell's Bow, who Craig Grills was on, and they did like. Sinbin wasn't a great result because it always has good support, but the fact that they did like Bell's Bow resuming 9 into 7 saved us. Fancy Pants was well backed again, 550 into 440, and Cleat ran a good race, 10 into 7. They were the market movers, but we got away with Sinbin plus 10,000 because of the money for those three horses I just mentioned.
Race 6 for the 3-year-olds over the 7 furlongs, and Wexford get one home when Rib Cracker beats the favourite as well, Maloney. So usually I would say Wexford would be a poor result, but because they've beaten the favourite here, and Craig Grills was on the favourite, thinking maybe this is a good result for the bookies.
Yeah, and he'd been testing customers' patience too a little bit, Rib Cracker.
And a few had jumped off.
And including me. He just look, and the run at Rotorua was good. I mean, he only got nabbed late, and it all set up well. He deserved to win because he's been threatening to do it, and he got it. But yes, down at the Naki there, you had the likes of Maloney for the Patterson Grills team, and you also had Bell Tribute, who was the big mover in the race. 9 into $4.60 for Alan Sharrock, and that was minus 100,000 Bell Tribute. So that meant Rib Cracker was plus 30,000.
Race 7, an open handicap over 1,400 metres, and Ali Sol, with her claim, gets Chijaba.
Yeah, it was a strong finish at the Naki, it's fair to say. It was just plus 30 on Rib Cracker, plus 40 Chijaba. It was just hovering around $11. No one really wanted a bar of it. Old Town Road was $5.50 into $3.70. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him, really. I haven't read the stops report, but Old Town Road, he'll win more races this winter, no doubt. Soldier Boy was 18 into $10. He ran a good race, to be fair, and he got out of the gates was the main thing. So he was a player. And Tobias, he's the one to mark down out of the race. I think he was $6.50 into $5. I think he's in for a big winter from what I saw there on Saturday. There was money for him as well. So $6.50 into $5 Tobias, but Chijaba plus 40.
Race 8, benchmark 65 over 1,400 metres, and Dollybird Kate Hercock gets another one home for Matt Dixon.
Yeah. It wasn't friendless. In saying that in terms of the market support. I think it was first. It might have second up, sorry, it might have been, but 12 into $10, but it was plus 40,000 for the fact that the Nomad was hammered. 370 to $3. That was minus sort of 70 odd thousand on the Nomad. And there was a really good move for Violets Are Blue. They're down the bottom of the book, 23 into $9. Didn't run a bad race. Sort of got shuffled back on the inside. Had to sort of work up along the inside late. Violets Are Blue might be one to mark down out of the race, but Dolly Bird, relatively good result, plus 40,000 because of the money for the Nomad.
Rightio, there we go. New Plymouth. Overall, would you say?
Yeah, it's about 110, roughly 110,000 at New Plymouth. So, yeah, around 250,000 all up domestically over the weekend in New Zealand. I see Doomben was a washout, just to give customers some semblance of feel good factor before they leave us.
How good was Antino?
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was smashed them. I see Doomben was a washout for the TAB, but. New Zealand domestically around plus 250,000. A toughish day for customers, to be fair.
Righty-ho, that's it for another edition of On the Nose. But don't forget to check out Thad with his episode of On the Nose, Follow the Money, where he'll hopefully put a circle around a couple of runners to keep an eye out for in the coming weeks.
Might be 3 this week, Paulie. I'm feeling generous.
Oof. Looking forward to it, Thad. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another edition of On the Nose.